you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mason.
I almost.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Covington City Council meeting for Tuesday, February 25th. In compliance with state law, city council special and regular meetings are held in a hybrid format with in-person, telephonic, and virtual options for public viewing and participation. With that, we'll call this meeting to order. And Krista, if you could please call the roll.
Councilmember Soltis. Here. Councilmember Porter. Here. Councilmember Hartsock.
Here.
Councilmember Herjehausen.
Present.
Councilmember Simomo.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Here.
Mayor Wagner.
Here.
We have a quorum, Your Honor.
Thank you, Krista. If everybody could please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you for that. Approval of agenda. Regan, do we have any changes tonight?
No, Mayor.
Thank you. Look for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda has been approved. Let's move into reports of commissions. We do not have an Economic Development Council update. Youth Council. Do we have anybody from Youth Council today? Arts Commission, Riley, welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here. This month I don't have a ton to report. We did have our annual retreat on Saturday as a commission. That's where we usually review our current projects and come up with new creative ideas. We got a couple new ideas, nothing like official. So we still have to kind of massage them out a bit before we share them. But it was an enjoyable event and we got a lot done. We also reviewed our finances for 2025 and have a plan in set for what we want to accomplish just for the year. And we have taken a look at the events that we have in Covington and are kind of trying to identify what more we can do and how we can show our presence at those events going forward. So we had a really successful retreat this year. We still have a March meeting coming up with CEDC. So I will report on that after that occurs. And that's everything new for us. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions for Riley? Thank you very much for a great report.
Yeah.
Look forward to hearing from you on your update.
Yeah.
Thank you. Equity, Cultural, and Social Justice Commission. Do we have anybody here from that tonight? Oh. Human Services Commission. Welcome.
Oh. Good evening. We're continuing our tradition of rotating commissioners to present. I'm Sarah Parker. Our first meeting of the year, we welcomed 2 new members, Ann and Michaela. So we've got just about a full commission again, but I also hear we're interviewing one more. So hopefully it's a good addition as well. We started, excuse me, looking at our 2025 work plan. We looked out generally towards the summer, trying to fill in which agencies we wanted to do site visits with. Again, we tend to do a mixture of new agencies that the council has funded and maintaining ties with our long-term partners. We also started thinking about how we want to increase our presence in the community. And this is our not grant review year. So we tend to do an event. So we talked about either a summer or a fall event, either at the senior center or generally youth targeted. We did youth last time, so we may focus on seniors this year, but we're still reaching out for a good venue for that and who might be interested. We're also looking to increase our presence at tabling at other events, our fairs and our markets, just so that there's more opportunity for Covington residents to hear about the services that are available to them. We also looked at our commission's priorities, and one of the things we've been talking about is improving communications within the commission, between commissions, between commission and council, and with everybody and the public. So we're reviewing all of our materials, what our social media might look like, maybe partnering with some of our agencies in the city to do more social media posts, and what that might look like. But at the very least, making sure all of our partner agencies are included in updated materials that we can present to the public at these events. In addition to these priorities is communication. We are going to start this year presenting one big win that is possible because of our partner agencies for Covington residents. So one of the agencies was the King County Bar Association. A Covington resident was evicted and went to the neighborhood clinic to get advice on whether or not this was done appropriately and what avenues they had if it was not. Turns out that the landlord had violated the Landlord-Tenant Act, did not give proper notice to either terminate the tenancy or entering the person's home. And so they were able to inform the person how to go to small claims court and seek damages for that unlawful eviction procedure. We'll be sharing more wins like this throughout the year from our agencies and all of the good money that our grants are doing. Any questions?
Does council have any questions? Sarah, thank you
Alrighty.
very much for a great report.
Welcome.
Appreciate it. Next is Parks and Recreation. Laura, welcome.
Good evening, council. We had 5 items on our agenda for our February meeting. First of all, Wes is great. He's going to be a fantastic addition to the commission, so thank you for sending him to us. We did a little round of introductions so everybody could get to know each other. We took a look at the Parks and Recreation Department performance report. I have it here. It's fat. There's so much going on in the Parks Department. And the way that Ethan does this is he has red, yellow, and green dots kind of showing like what's been done. Most of the pages look like this, green dots all the way down. The pages that have yellow dots are mostly due to capacity. They just literally ran out of room, and it says in progress will be completed in 2025. They just couldn't get everything done this year. There are very, very few red dots, meaning that their target was not met or only partially met. So the Parks Department is busy. We also took a look at the 2025 tree work plan. We approved it as the commission. That's a checkbox that we do for Arbor Day to keep our Arbor Day USA status. We're giving another go with a commission work plan. We had a robust one and then COVID came and that kind of knocked everything out from underneath us. And so with fairly new commissioners, we're going to try rebuilding our own work plan. So we had a discussion about that, what that might have looked like, looked at some past iterations of our work plan. Ethan and I are going to work on that going forward. We just want to make sure it's a useful tool for commissioners. As an advisory commission, sometimes it's difficult for commissioners to know like exactly the space they sit in. And so a work plan is kind of helpful in defining that, especially for some new commissioners. Finally, we had election of Parks and Recreation officers. Nothing has changed. I am going to stay on as the chair. Sorry, not sorry. And Connie Elliott will be the vice chair. So future agendas, we are going to be looking next month at the Parks and Recreation Department Action Plan. This is all things that we have to do as part of our Parks and Recreation Charter per the code. And so that's going to be, this is like what they did already. And so the action plan is what they are going to do, which I assume is going to be just as fat. And we'll also be taking a look at planning for our parks tour. Oh, at the very end of our meeting, Ethan always gives a Parks and Recreation Department performance report, and I just wanted to call a couple of things to your attention. If you didn't know, we've extended our swim lessons, so they now go till 8 o'clock on weeknights. There's that much of a demand for it. Currently, the pool is in their maintenance closure, if you didn't know that too, getting some stuff done. One of the things from Recreation and Cultural Arts that we pulled out was the movie selection. The drive-in movie at the Town Center lawn was so popular that they've expanded it to 4. I'm assuming you guys have seen the survey that went out a little while ago. I personally am super excited for The Princess Bride. But they were looking for recommendations for movies to show. And then 2 park projects. So Founders Park project. Puget Sound Energy finally installed our transformer. So that is not officially done. There's still some punch list items. We need to wait for the weather to get better so we can test the irrigation system. But as soon as that is done and some minor like landscaping stuff, then finally that park will be officially finished. And the Jenkins Creek Park project, if you've driven by there, looks very, very close to done. There were some issues with the concrete pouring, a particularly tricky section. So there have been some weather related delays. Hopefully it will be open within a month or so. So I can't be any more specific than that. And then finally, the Jenkins Creek Trail. If you didn't know, Ethan applied for a grant through the Washington Wildlife Recreation Program. Our preliminary ranking has the grant at, our project is 6 out of 12. So we're like right in the middle. If the state funds at the same level as they did last time, then we would get about 1.7 million of our roughly 2.1 million request. So we'll see how it goes and what happens with the state. So that is my update for you.
Does council have any questions for Laura? Thank you for a very good report, Laura. Have a great evening.
Thanks.
Planning Commission, Benner. Welcome.
Hello. Thanks for joining us again earlier today. I think hour and a half next time is probably the right call. So Kenner Aronson speaking on behalf of the Planning Commission. We discussed several items during our session on February 20th. The first was we held a public hearing concerning the middle housing draft code updates for House Bill 1110. We had a pretty lengthy discussion that we revealed tonight about the setback requirement from 5 feet compared to 7.5 feet for interior setbacks. So we'll continue that discussion later. And then second, we discussed climate actions in Covington, our current efforts, the greenhouse gas analysis, and then the draft climate element. So the policies in our draft climate element are generally geared towards either the reduction in our greenhouse gas emissions or an increase in our climate resilience. We did accept Covington $410,000 Commerce Climate Grant. So the grant is mainly being used for a multimodal plan to reduce vehicle miles traveled, a tree canopy assessment of about 6,000 trees, and then to create a downtown beautification and a landscaping standard for that area. That draft multimodal plan should be presented to the Planning Commission and Council in Q1 of this year. Then we also reviewed a pretty nifty modeling tool presented to us from one of the consultants, I believe Cascadia, called a wedge chart, essentially showing how the various policies that we're required and are enacting of our own volition are impacting our greenhouse gas emissions over time. Right now, it showed that our policies have us on track to meet the targets. And to remind everybody, those targets are 45% reduction, I think by 23, 70% by 2040, and then 95% by 2050. So right now we're trending on track for that. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions? A very good joint session today. Thank you very much to you and your entire team.
Yeah.
Thank you. Have a great evening. That concludes our reports of commissions. Let's go into our public communication. And we have our quarterly update from our awesome Covington Chamber of Commerce. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm Dana Newts with the Covington Chamber, and this is rock star Kilana Temyosa. Many of you have heard me talk about her before, but she came for moral support today. Lots of things are going on at the Chamber. First of all, we raised $2,500, including a match from the Good Work Fund, to give each of our nonprofits $100. So that was $2,500. We've been really busy with events, the new CRM and website and advocacy. I'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. Membership is slow. As of right this moment, we are at 141, which is about 30 down from the end of the year. While this is typical, it's frustrating because we spend most of the year making up those that we lost. In this case, many of them were people that went out of business or moved out of the area. It wasn't necessarily a Covington Chamber issue, but probably some of them were. We did do an exit survey and we only had a couple of people, I think maybe 4 people respond, and then they were all unique circumstances. We have an increased involvement in advocacy this year. We've always had a government affairs committee, but I'll be honest, I didn't know what to do with it. And now that I've been there 4 years now, I'm more comfortable in my role. I have better contacts. I know a little bit more about what I'm doing. And when I put a call out to our board and other volunteers to see who is interested in being on the Government Affairs Committee, I got 10 people, 10 very engaged and excited people. And I am super, super pumped about that. And they have helped on a number of different things, including, I don't think I have this listed, including this morning, we had a presentation from AWB's Affordable Washington Initiative. So based on some research that they've done and surveys of Washingtonians, the majority of people believe that the state has enough money, but the problem is how it's been spent. And so rather than raise taxes, they want some more accountability and some other things. So they came and talked to us about this initiative. We're going to participate in it, but we did a informational session today, and 5 of our board members and Government Affairs Committee members joined us. And I've asked them to speak at our luncheon in March. So that'll be our first quarterly luncheon, but I think they'll be a great speaker. It's a very interesting initiative. So I'm excited to see how it progresses. And the initiative really is for us to go to the legislatures, in bulk, in mass. How many people can reach out to our legislators? Our district, 47th district, has been targeted, as has District 5, as target districts for them, ones that they really need influence. And so happy to tell you more about that in the future. We're following up on calls to action that we received from South Sound Chambers of Commerce Legislative Coalition, from AWB, and from WCCE, which is Washington Chamber of Commerce Executives. We've provided written testimony on a bill because they ran out of time for verbal testimony. And we're signing in pro and con, and I'm recording all this information so we can see at the end of the session, here's the impact that we have. So we can measure, are we doing enough? Can we do more? Where do we need help? As some of you may know, we did a transition to a new CRM and a new website. I won't go into all the details, but we like it, but the learning curve is a little slow. I thought it would be easy peasy, and I was wrong, correct? So there are some things that we're still learning how to do. The system is actually simpler than the previous one, but we're used to certain features that aren't there. And they're like, well, nobody's asked us to do that before. Okay, but they're very responsive. That was one of the things that we really liked, is that their customer service is very responsive, and they're open to suggestions and ideas for improvements. We started our monthly morning meetups in January. We've done 2 so far. We did one in multi-care in January, and one right here at City Hall last Thursday. 2 Thursdays ago. I don't know. The 20th. Nope, the 13th. Anyway, some point in February, we were here. Both of them have been really well received. We've had between 20 and 25 people come out, including people who just wanted to learn more about the chamber. I think we're actually going to have at least 1 new member, or maybe 2 new members from the first 2 meetups alone, but people seem to like it. It's not the best time for everyone to come, but this way we're hitting people at breakfast time, at lunchtime, and after hours. So hopefully we're providing enough opportunities for people to come and network. I attended last week a Business Toolkit 101 virtual workshop led by Erica Miller of EDM Consulting. And it just went through different tools for design, different tools for accounting, different tools for CRMs and websites. It was amazing. Erica went through each type and she made her recommendations and talked about what she uses and why. It was so good. And I think this is exactly the kind of content we want to provide to our members, but we just haven't had the bandwidth. So this is like, we keep talking about a program in a box. This is it. So I said, this was awesome. Would you do a workshop for the chamber? So we've got one scheduled for March 11th. We don't have to do any work but promote it. So we're looking for more opportunities for that. If you know of a speaker or a topic or something that you'd like to see, we would be happy to consider that. We have moved to quarterly luncheons this year, and our first luncheon will be March 13th. And as I mentioned, the AWB group will be giving, will be our guest speaker. And the biggest change so far this year will be our business awards dinner and silent auction. So this will be a celebration of our members. At least during my time here, we have not had this kind of a celebration. We started to step things up last year. So traditionally we had 2 awards, Business of the Year and New Business of the Year, I think. And last year we added and we did 6 awards, and we did a cocktail reception at Weatherly Inn. Very well received, sold out, not enough room to have it there again this year. So we are moving the party to Grill in the Woods, and we're going to do a dinner and a silent auction. It'll be a fundraiser. Specifically, we're going to do a fund an item, and the fund an item will, anything raised during that period of time will go directly into our Good Work Fund, so that we're able to do more work in the community. There'll be games, dessert dash, all the fun things. So we are just rolling that out. We have so many things going back to back to back to back, that, and plus advocacy, that it's been a little bit of a challenge, but Ilana and I are going to get through it together. A lot of phone calls, a lot of Zoom meetings. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Would love your feedback on, what you think about what we're doing.
Council have any questions for Dana? The luncheon is going to be,
March 13th.
no, where?
Oh, Grill in the
Grill in the
Woods.
Woods. Okay.
Yes, Grill in the Woods. So this year we'll have 4 quarterly luncheons. The March and September will be at Grill in the Woods. June will be joint with Maple Valley Black Diamond at Rainfire Ranch. And did we decide what we're going to do for December? Okay.
You've got time.
Yeah, we haven't decided yet, but I don't think we'll go back to Dave and Buster's. Because that's our nonprofit fundraiser. And this time we went a little bit south on 167, and we changed it to after hours, and we didn't have the attendance that we normally have. We didn't raise as much money as we have. So we're going to go back to lunch worked. So we're going to go and bring it closer to Covington, so we can make sure that more people can participate. But we have the pretty much the whole year planned out until somebody brings us something else.
Great, thank you. Sean?
Just following up on what the mayor's, can you send out that March 13th?
Absolutely, yes. Our newsletter will go out tomorrow. Are you getting
Yep.
our newsletter?
Yeah.
Okay,
do.
yeah. So we've moved our newsletters to Wednesday. But you'll get one every week, and there will be some things that we will do, like if it's a legislative call to action, we will send out just like a special edition newsletter that'll just be that topic. So hope to see you all at our events.
Thank you very much, and thank you, and Kaylana. You've really taken the chamber to the next level, and really appreciate all of the community activity, all the community involvement, the advocacy, everything. It's nice to see you continue to do that. Well, thank you.
Thank you. We're having a good time when we're not stressed out.
There's no such
Yeah, I was gonna say,
stress.
who's not stressed out?
Yeah. All right. Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you again. Next up is our first of 2 public comment periods. Speakers will state their name, organization, and whether they are a Covington resident. Comments are directed to City Council, not the audience or staff. Comments are to be related to city business. Thank you, Joe. Comments are not intended for conversation or debate and are limited to 4 minutes per speaker. For attendees participating by Zoom, click the raise hand button. For attendees participating by phone, dial *9 to raise your hand. Once the city grants permission to speak, press unmute in Zoom or press *6 to unmute by phone. Please note that campaigning for any ballot measure or candidate at City Hall or during council meetings, including public comments, is prohibited by state law RCW 42.17A.555. And first up is, have anybody on here? Is there anybody in the audience wishing to address council at this time? Go ahead and come on up. State your name. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Monique Costalis. I am a Covington resident. My questions to you guys are maybe something you've already addressed, but some of the budget shortfalls that we might be seeing from the federal government. My question, I guess, or comment here is, how is this council addressing those? How can we make up for those federal dollar shortfalls in our community? And are we protecting our local community from effects of anything that the federal government may or may not be providing in the year or years to come. Thank you.
Thank you. And just as a kind of a follow-up, while we don't answer questions, but we do a budget annually, and we watch everything. While we can't we try to what is it, Boy Scouts?
Anticipate,
We
be prepared.
be prepared, but we try to expect the unexpected.
Yeah. Prepare
And
for the
so
worst.
we have a very good team and we watch that. And so we just kind of follow through and do what we can to make sure that our residents are taken care of. So thank you for that. Is there anybody else? Is there anybody online wishing to address council? Please raise their hand. I don't see anybody online. Okay, anybody else? With that, we'll close the first public comment period. Next up is approval of the consent agenda consisting of items C1 through C5. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next is new business. We have no new business items. Future agenda, our next council meeting will be March 11th. We do have a study session at 6 p.m. Does council have anything they'd like to see on a future agenda? Okay, now at this time, let's move into council staff comments. Start with Adam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. The Community Academy has been posted online, so if you are interested in learning about what the police do, kind of how they do it, and a lot of the units that we have to offer as Covington Police and the Sheriff's Office, I would encourage you to sign up because of signups end at the end of this week. It starts March 13th and it goes every Tuesday for 6 weeks. So if that's something you're interested in doing, I would encourage you to sign up for it. So we have had nobody sign up from Covington just yet, so.
Oh. Okay, I'm not.
All right.
Oh, we also added Black Diamond to the group this year. So we have Black Diamond, Maple Valley, Covington, and unincorporated King County.
Nice.
So I took the very first one back in 94, 97, whenever that was. How much has it changed since then? I wonder if I should retake it.
Yeah.
It changes in that we offer different things every year. So some years, you know, you won't see the SWAT team. Some years you'll have, like, I think we offer a tour of the jail now. We didn't in the past.
That was fun though.
They have, yeah, going to the jail is actually kind of entertaining. As long as you're not in custody.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of different things. I know last year they had these goggles you can put on that give you kind of that feeling of being drunk. And it makes it a lot more difficult to walk. I think Regan tried them recently, so you can.
I did. It's hard to walk.
Yeah. So if you want to get that feeling without having to use alcohol, you can try those. It's only part of it, but so yeah, there's all sorts of different things that they offer. It changes every year. I know Black Diamond's adding something new in this year, so.
Great. Thank you. Christina.
Is it in the evenings or is it during the day?
Yeah, it's generally every week at 6. I think there's a Saturday in there when they tour the jail.
Kind of counts us all out.
Yeah,
We have city council meeting, but.
No, it's
Yeah.
Thursday night.
Thursday night.
Thursday
Oh,
nights.
Yeah.
Thursday nights.
Oh, 6.
Yeah. It's worth attending. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you still get tased? Is that still an option?
No.
I'd pay for that.
Yeah,
No,
I can show you where to get a commercially available taser and you can take yourself to your heart's content. So.
been there, done that.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, my word.
All right. Thank you, Adam. Ethan. Are you online, Ethan?
I am here. My video's not working, but nothing from me tonight.
Okay. Thank you, Ethan. Don? I don't see.
I have video issues too. Mine said I can't
Oh.
turn it on. So just a couple things. One, landscaping maintenance contract, our street contract. They've been doing really well. They've done all the cutbacks in the medians, and they put all the mulch along there. So those have been exciting to see all of that to hit all of those locations. And then one other thing is a reminder, if you don't already know, King County this Wednesday is as part of the basically they're having a community meeting here at City Hall from 6:30 to 8 regarding the the new draft flood maps for Jenkins Creek and Little Sue's Creek. So they're basically taking public comment during that time with those maps and presenting that. And that public comment period closes on April 12th. So that's all being hosted by King County and King County Flood Control District. So we will have staff. I don't think I can make it, but Selena, I believe, is going to be there. And then Ben, I believe, will be there as well. But mostly as just observing as it's King County's process. That's it. That's all I have.
Thank you, Don. Question. Oh, Beth?
Can you clarify? You said that that's tomorrow night here? Okay.
And if I can on that, if there are council members planning to attend, please let us know so we know if we need to issue a notice of quorum.
Thank you. Selena?
I just want to thank you all for a great 1 hour Fast and Furious Planning Commission joint session. I agree. I think in the future, as these work plans expand, as you saw, we probably need to start those a little earlier. So we just look forward to coming back and continuing that conversation. We'll be probably doing that in April and June. So more to come. And I look forward to your questions. Please send those my way. Thank you.
Thanks, Selena. Casey?
Nothing for me tonight either, and my video is not working either.
Thanks, Casey.
Thank
Mark?
My video is also not working, but I have no report, and there's no executive session this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Regan?
We locked him out tonight, so hasn't it been nice? Just kidding.
All of them?
Yeah, we don't know what's going on there. Quick update on our flock cameras, our license plate reader cameras. They were supposed to be installed last week. I believe they're going to be installed this week or next is what we're being told. So hopefully we'll have that system up and running soon. Just also an FYI for those who were in Olympia, Representative Entenmann asked to hear about our updates from our community care specialist. So I compiled our last couple of months of updates and sent those to her, and she replied and was really appreciative of those. So also Covington received the AWC Well City Award. We just found out about that today. That gives us a 2% discount on our medical insurance premiums. So that's given to cities that have high standards and employee programs that promote health and whatnot. So we're excited about that. Laura mentioned the movies in the park at CCP and the drive-in that we've got this year. We'll provide time this year at the very beginning of those for council members. You can rotate or however you want to do it to welcome everybody, to maybe mention a couple things that might be happening in the city. And also we'll have our popcorn machine that we bought last summer out. Nice. So council can be at those passing out popcorn. For our joint meeting coming up on the 18th of March with the Kent School Board, we'd like to get them proposed agenda items tomorrow. So I emailed council last week, and now would be a time to, if you have some of those items, we can jot those down and put together an agenda. I did compile the items that the youth council shared with us. So of those are communication during lockdowns with students and parents, the student advisory team and why that's not meeting. One of them was sound panels at Kentwood Gym. I don't know if that's an appropriate one for this meeting, but so I'll probably leave that off. But the next is excessive use of vaping and drugs and the causes that's having an effect on the students, and then mental health that they address. So those are the ones I'll add from our youth council. Are there any that the council would like us to add to that as well?
Security, update on their security for schools, not just lockdowns, but everyday security, such as at middle schools. I see a heavy presence at high schools, and I'm starting to see it at middle schools, but just make sure that that's staying on.
Like, are you talking about an SRO or private security?
No, it's the school's security. It's it's Kent School District security. Just give an update on what their plans are for that. And it'd be nice to hear an update. I mean, this is my personal, and it's up to council if they'd like this, but on inclement weather. I mean, I understand you can't run the buses when side roads and stuff aren't, but when they're gonna open school, to make sure that the sidewalks are clear. I have that on my agenda for next week with the superintendent, but Cedar Heights, a lot of kids got hurt.
Okay.
So, and
Is
so
that
I don't know if we,
on this meeting, or do you want to just bring that up with
I guess
administration?
I should just bring that up with the administration.
Okay.
And I can report back to council.
Because maybe that was just a specific school.
It
Not
could
a-
be just
not-
a, well, Cedar
I was
Valley.
gonna say,
was
I
just-
actually had a related thought, given, you know, my husband's in public works and we get the public works updates. It's interesting to me that I don't see from another public organization. I don't see a response like I see from cities.
Mhm.
I'm not saying everybody needs to be out working 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. like my husband was, but I do kind of expect that there is a non-traditional working hour response to ensure that our schools are student ready. And I don't think that just applies to Cedar Heights. I saw it.
Cedar Valley was just as bad.
Right. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me not to see crews out there while schools are closed, getting the schools ready. We expect the same from our city. Why wouldn't, I mean, where are all the facilities people? Why are they not being called in to take care of it, right? It doesn't make sense to me. And with the increase in inclement weather issues and the increased need to ensure that we're ready to immediately open our schools because they've been closed for a period of time, it seems like we should see a change in their strategy.
I think that's a good global agenda item that we
Yeah.
can compile those together on.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything else? Thank you, Jennifer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh. Can I ask, and this is more of a question, can we get an update on the status of attendance and not, I mean as a whole, as a district, like how many students do we see this year as opposed to last year? Have we lost students? Are we gaining them back? I know there was a deficit, and what does that look like?
So like year-to-year comparisons of attendance?
So yeah, so an update on this year. Did we get some students back? Are we losing more to whomever or whatever?
I think I think they usually share that in their update,
Mhm.
but I
I
can
don't think
ask.
so, but-
I feel like it was in the last,
Yeah.
what is the plan thing that they give us? And it was still shrinking.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
the capital improvement.
Oh,
plan.
capital improvement.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
since COVID, the
Yeah.
enrollment has shrunk, yeah.
Right.
Beth?
And this might tie in a little bit to the safety and that, because I remember the students were talking about how a lot of times when they have assemblies, anecdotally, and I don't know if anyone tracks it, they feel like maybe 25% of the student body doesn't show up to them. And I don't know how true that is, but that's the impression. Where are the kids going? And what are they doing in that time when they're supposed to be at a school event? And is there like some kind of a truancy tracker, or, you know, if they were there on time, but now they leave early, or I don't know if. I'm just curious to find out their impressions on that and if there is anything. Alternative thing that they're offering for students that don't want to attend it, so they are doing what they're supposed to be doing, not getting.
So are you specifically wondering about assemblies or just generally if
Well, I mean,
students
it might
aren't
be
in
an example.
school?
That might be an example, but
Uh-huh.
if they show up and then they leave,
Yeah,
I don't know. And I'm not a parent, so I don't know. I'm only hearing what those.
Where the leakage is going throughout the day.
Right. That might be a good way of putting it.
I mean, if we really want
What-
to talk about student attendance, I pulled up my class attendance right here. I have one student here who's missed 20 days.
But what I think complicates high school is the fact that there is running start, and
Mhm.
because I just, while you were talking, I got the
Mhm.
thought, why don't they, there's, what do they call it, when they let them on and off campus,
Open camp.
open campus, but maybe they could limit that, but they can't because of
Sure.
because
That
of
might
the,
be.
running start students.
It just,
complicates it.
when
But
I was hearing students talk about it, there was like this tone in their voice of, well, it's not gonna
Yeah.
matter, these kids that should probably be engaged aren't. That's kind of how maybe it was just me and the filter that I had when I was hearing them talk.
Well, if they were sad?
Yeah, we can ask them about that, just if they know where students are going once they show up and leave during school hours.
They're coming to the pond.
To add on to that, to make it sound like, is there something they suggest that we can help with? I mean, not as a city, but I mean, maybe
Right.
a message as parents or individuals in the city to help relay the message to help kids. Because I know that Principal Mauer out of Kent Lake is always bringing that up, that their attendance is very having issues.
Okay. Anything else? Nope. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Regan. Krista?
I don't have anything this evening. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Krista. Christina?
My video is working. And I really, really appreciated our meeting with the planning commission today, and we just got the ball rolling and we had to stop. But it was wonderful and I'm excited to hear more about it. Olympia was excellent. Carpooling was wonderful. But truly, I think I met more folks from Olympia this year, and it's nice to see that there's decent humans that kind of instills hope, and that deficit. No, I'm not going to say anything about that, but I'm hoping that our city is not affected as it could be, but we are doing everything we can with our dollars and stretching them as far as they go. I can say that, and our wonderful staff does that. So thank you. Had a wonderful meeting.
Thank you, Christina. Beth?
Yeah, it was definitely a different, I felt like it was a different vibe at Olympia this year in a good way. I mean, not that it's never bad, but it seemed like I felt like they were really open to listening to our concerns as a city and some of the things that we brought forward, and some surprising opinions that were in alignment with what we were asking. And I felt very supported. I felt like our city was going to be supported. Whether things turn out the way we want them to is a whole nother ball wax, but I feel like the relationships are getting even stronger. Having them in position for 1 or 2 terms makes that relationship grow a little bit better as they've been in office. But yeah, great planning commission session. I remember sitting on that other side of the bench 7 years ago, going through all of those. So it's that commission. All of our commissions put in a lot of hard work and it takes a lot of planning. Oh, but yeah, it's really hard when it comes to code. That's a great, very appreciative of the work that our volunteer commissioners do. Yeah, I'm just looking forward to mayor's meetup and everything's going down.
Thanks, Beth. John?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Puget Sound Regional Fire Authority had its February 19th meeting last week. So on the agenda, I think I mentioned last time that there's a 2-part benefit charge review board. So people can petition the RFA for a reduction or elimination of their benefit charge. There were 4 petitions submitted. Cut to the chase, all 4 were rejected. And normally what they've done is that the only time the RFA decides to or has granted a petition is if there's a mistake in facts. So your benefit charge is partially determined by your square footage. And that comes from the county. And if that's mistaken for whatever reason, they're willing to look at that. And I mentioned this at the council, there was one person that asked for a hardship, and it was rejected, but they don't normally do those because they're afraid that there will be a precedent for asking for those types, and where do you draw the line? And I encourage them to just look at it over the next year to see if we can't. Just because it's difficult doesn't mean shouldn't at least see if there isn't a way to address that. If it can't be done, but at least I'd like to see them attempt it. So a couple other things that were of interest. The operations chief mentioned that a number of elementary schools from Los Angeles wrote the RFA and thanked them for, yeah, it was quite touching, for their efforts on the California wildfires. The fire department is also currently interviewing for a new nurse and social worker for their FD Cares program. So that's continuing to develop. One of the things I think that's interesting will be, I know we're coordinating here at the city, but the fire department's already talking about plans for the FIFA World Cup and how they can anticipate that and what demand may be on their services. So they're already looking at their emergency management plans and what they need to do. So I'll have something in a second to talk about that. This was interesting. In 2024, I didn't know this, but they attended 350 community events, which is, that's almost one a night, one a day, you know, and so that's pretty incredible. And they had the number for Covington. I think it was like 2 or 3 dozen. But I was impressed at how much community outreach they actually do, and how big their region is now. So it's just going to expand. It's from Tukwila to us to from SeaTac to Maple Valley. So, you know, those probably an event every night. And then they mentioned that they're looking at using what's called liquid CO2 washers to wash their bunker gear. Because if you think about it, bunker gear is water resistant. So it's really difficult to clean those with regular washers and dryers. So they're meant to repel that water. So, and they are becoming more cognizant of the fact that those chemicals, which in the past were a sign of, or a badge of, you know, honor, you have your dirt, the dirtier the bunker gear, the more, you know, fires. Well, those are off-gassing all the time, and they've been able to connect that to your cancer risk. So fire departments really want their gear to be clean. And so they're looking at this CO2, liquid CO2 system. I'll be curious to see how that plays out. So some cutting edge stuff by your RFA. Speaking of FIFA, I think I mentioned to Regan, I'd like to see the city use its town center lawn, maybe for a viewing party or something, to put up a giant screen TV and maybe invite people one night, hopefully with the US team maybe. But I know I heard one of the other cities at the AWC meeting, Renton, I think, was going to do something like that. So I think we should do something since we got the space. I was also encouraged to see the return on the B&O tax. Do we have an update on if we've gotten additional revenue on that?
I can answer that. It's just over 800,000
Okay, so-
received so far,
Yeah.
about 850. Is that accurate, Casey?
925,000.
Yeah,
Wow.
so that's great. Yeah, wow.
That's, yeah.
And then the other thing, and I haven't totally thought about it, but Seattle's got that new community space down by the aquarium, and they're kind of experimenting with public events. They're looking at, you know, public campfires out there in the summer. Obviously, it's right on the water, so that's a little tough to compete with. But again, I think we should be looking at things for our town center. If they're doing it, can we have a campfire, s'mores night or something? Yeah, exactly. You know, maybe a coffee cart or, you know, whatever down there. I think it'd be kind of neat to see if we can get just people walking and starting to use that space in the evening. So anyway, that's it.
Thank you, Sean. Debbie?
Thank you. I noticed on Sunday, Jack in the Box had a landscaping crew in, and it was pouring down rain, and my husband had taken me to Fred Meyer, and on the way back, we saw this, and I said, why would anybody be out in this rain doing all that work? Because they were like sweeping the street. I mean, sweeping the sidewalk. It was just gushing rain. And then I said, oh, I know why they're doing that. Because the city asked them to.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty quick response on their part. So
It was pretty shocking because
Yeah.
it took months and months and months to get them. And then they're like, we're going to get it done right away. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay,
all right.
let's do this.
In
Yeah.
in the rain.
In the rain, yeah.
So last week, unfortunately, I had to miss the Olympia trip, but in return, I went to 2 HOA meetings. virtually.
Nice.
I know. And so I wanted to share something because there was an email thread this afternoon that was copied to everyone about the parking situation in Crofton Hills. So the background on this is that in the early days of that first development, there was a section of about 6 houses where they had a parking sign on the south side of the street. And then as the next development went in, all the parking signs were on the north side of the street. So they brought up that there's inconsistency, and what happens is people that are used to parking on one side of the street park on the wrong side now at where that little section of homes are, and they're so narrow anyway, and with 2 cars parking, you can barely get through. So they asked what we could do about that, and the city's response was, and I filtered this through to them, approach those 6 homeowners, get their buy-in, so to speak, to move their parking signs to the other side of the street to be consistent with everyone else. I'm sure that that will be problematic for those folks, but we kind of left it with the HOA, since they were the ones that brought it up and want to change. Ask them to approach those homeowners. They asked the question, well, what will we do if they don't agree? We've said, well, go talk to them and then we'll look at the game plan. So thank you, Regan, for you and Dawn to take that on. So I kind of get right.
Yeah, and we do have a separate thread going now just with their management company. So we'll work with them.
Okay, thank you. Will you let us know when that's resolved? Thank you. And then with Maple Hills, what I'm really enjoying is getting some history now with some of these HOAs. So we actually going into it, remember some of the problems that they brought up before. Something that they shared, and I'm surprised we're not hearing it from other areas. They brought this up last year. When they go to shop online to several online websites, and they used Chewy as an example, they put in their address and it defaults to Kent, Washington, and they can't go in and change it.
Yeah.
But they've been ordering from Chewy for years and they're paying the Kent sales tax. And Covington's not getting the sales tax. And so they brought it to us last year, and Casey, bless you, she's taken it on to work with Commerce, who have been very slow to respond, but she's got now a contact person. And how this will all get fixed in the inner workings of, is unknown to us. But I was able to report back that we actually had been working on that since last year. And Casey has got someone now that's helping her. So hopefully, I mean, this was a win-win. If we can get this resolved, Covington will start getting the revenue that we're not getting, and the residents won't be paying that higher tax.
Casey.
I actually just heard back from them today, from DOR.
Yeah.
And Chewy, there was 2 big, large tax payments made to us in November and December that we just received. So I tried to go onto Chewy today and try to play around with it a little bit and do a fake order to see if I could test the sales tax. But we had a big increase in November and December. So I think they're working on something. Something's been fixed.
Thank you.
Can we send
That's
a
great
bill
news.
to Kent
Can I ask a
for
question?
some of that lost revenue?
Are we only working with Chewy because based on where?
It's Commerce.
So I mean, it would be like all of Covington, right? Because I get that same thing too. I know we're kind of on the border. and
It's
all-
general, just the example they.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's Chewy. Yep.
I'm glad to hear
They
that,
said they
because I do
don't
the same
believe it
thing.
happens with the Amazon, so somehow Amazon has it right. So that question could come up at other HOA meetings or talking to the public. So now you know where we're at on that. The common thread between the 2 HOAs was where did this utility tax come from with the water and sewer? And we knew that would be coming, but actually I appreciated being able to talk to that and explain how it came up, how we're applying it across the other utilities. Actually, as we talked through it, they were kind of upset at first that they're paying this new tax. They appreciated that we are keeping things running and that we kind of left no stone unturned 2 years ago and looked at things we could be doing to make up for the increased cost of our police department. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Debbie. Jennifer.
I'm so sorry to cancel on Olympia. So bummed.
As long as you're feeling better.
Yeah. Finally, it was rough. Yeah, that's it.
Thanks, Jennifer. Joe?
Just a couple things to tag on. I had the same conversation with my neighbor because he got the letter from Water District and said, who looked at me and goes, normally you tell me if you guys are raising my taxes. And I go, we did this 2 years ago.
Yeah.
This is them now just saying, well, I will keep, thanks for, I'm not gonna say it. I know where you're thinking. I'm not going to, so I'll send it to him. But it was the Water District just sending their thing so they can raise their rates.
But it's the second. This is
Yeah.
they sent the notice out last summer.
Yeah.
And now they're sending it out again.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's
So
it's whatever. But another thing, I told him it's whatever, and I told him I explained what happened, and he was like, "Oh, all right, never mind, it's fine." But then Sean, you keep bringing up that the fire trucks keep getting robbed of vital equipment. Seattle PD made an arrest the other day
Oh, I
on
didn't see that.
the ringleader of a group of 4 who were using the jaws of life to rob ATMs.
Wow.
Yeah, they've took about $500,000 from ATMs in Seattle.
Okay.
They've identified 2 others in that crew and are still trying to identify the third. But I thought you would like to hear that. I don't know where they got the jaws of life. I don't know if they're from the
Hopefully
RFA,
not.
but the guy they arrested was in Auburn, so it might be from Auburn's.
Wow.
and they interviewed Pat Pollock.
Oh, great.
They
Okay.
talked to
I didn't read all of that. I just saw the headline. I read a couple bits just to get enough
Oh, that's
information
good.
to share. And then other than that, hope you all are having, good time. I can't wait for spring break already. But with that, I hope everyone is staying healthy, Jennifer. And come out on Thursday to Canyon Ridge and watch us wrestle against Matson. I don't know where my loyalties will lie, but I know I'll be there.
You're wrestling?
No.
I
Funny thing is one of the assistant coaches at Matson, his dad used to be the assistant coach at Meridian when I wrestled for Matson all them years ago. So it's kind of funny how things are working out.
I had the pleasure of speaking at Cedar Heights yesterday morning to the 8th grade humanities class, local government again. Mr. Franklin's class, a lot of great questions. The class that we thought was going to speak the most was the quietest and reverse. So, but a lot of great questions. And the gal from, let's see, so she's in 10th grade now, Daisy. So 3 years ago when she spoke, she's now been the page down in Olympia and is now volunteering. And so she's going to be far, and Mr. Franklin keeps thinking she's going to be governor or maybe president someday. She's very, very good young lady. Yeah, watching them put landscaping in at Jack in the Box. So Regan, thank you. Mayor's meetup, we rescheduled it to March 4th. So Joe and Beth, thank you for being there. And then we'll get the next one scheduled and we'll get 2 more council members to join. That is all. Oh, and Olympia was outstanding. I know I was a little slow trying to keep up with everybody, not just the boot, but I kept running into people like Pat Sullivan, who now works with Dave Updegrove. And that's one other thing. I attended the Good Eggs breakfast last Wednesday. Pete Von Reichbauer, King County Council member, and Dave Updegrove was the speaker. And he is definitely going to take lands to the next level as commissioner. And one of his first things he said was he brought Pat on to work with him. So it's definitely going to do well. That is all I have. So we'll move into our second public comment. Speakers will state their name, organization, and whether they're a Covington resident. Comments are directed to City Council, not the audience or staff, and comments will be related to city business. Comments are not intended for conversation or debate and are limited to 4 minutes per speaker. Is there anybody in the audience wishing to address council this evening? Yes, go ahead. Thank you.
I am a Covington resident. My comment to you is about Chewy issue that was
Mhm.
brought up. There are actually many websites backed, and my comment to you and to Congress is to work with the providers, the software providers, because they will actually need to update it. So they can reach out to very large software providers to update their mapping database to ensure that Covington is a city that is listed in the drop-down menu. There's only a handful of people that do that service. So I would recommend to council and to Commerce to fix it at that level, because it is many websites as a software engineer by trade, and someone who's online all the time. Thank you.
Great, thank you for that. Is there anybody else wishing to speak? Is there anybody online wishing to speak? Please raise their hand. All right, seeing nobody else approach the podium or raise their hand, we do not have an executive session tonight, and this meeting is adjourned. 8:06. Thank you.